Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Fortin for Michigan Matters. Today is July 17th, 2025. There's some things in the news I'd like to talk about today. I try to pick things that people aren't talking about all that much that matter to Michigan especially, but other national things that also matter to us in Michigan. There's a guy named John Walters who is a DNR commissioner, and he's a little irritated about Ted Nugent's comments to them in Lansing a few days ago, if you remember, that was in the news. And he called his remarks appalling, the way he talked to them people. You know, I'm getting a little bit tired of the administrative state, and I think a lot of you are. I know Steve Bannon is. The administrative state has got to be altered. It really does. Our life is not to be administered by people above us. They work for us. And the DNR is clearly jackbooted thugs, just exactly like Ted Nugent said. The laws are stupid. Years ago, I hit a deer in a highway. And the officer that came, we talked and this and that. And he said that there were, at that time, this is a long time ago. This was, I think, about 2010 or 11. It was when I was still working. Not working anymore. I'm not doing anything anymore. But anyway, the officer told me then that in Michigan, there was 60,000 deer auto accidents a year at that year. We have such a herd of deer, it's unbelievable. There should be no such thing as a deer license. There should be no such thing. It's all money-making graft by politicians in Lansing to spend money on what they want. The DNR, though, they can monitor the herds. They know when the herd is large. They know when the herd is small. So you could have a moratorium for a number of years on hunting, allow people to hunt, and so on and so forth. If the deer herd gets down, you simply start putting out licenses again. It's so easy to fix things. But I'm going to tell you something right now. Administrators and politicians, the word fix is not, well, I think they use the word fix when they can, and it benefits them. I think they fix some things. But when they fix things, when they have issues involving the citizens in ways to make life better or more reasonable, think of the money spent. Back then, in 2010 or 11, 60,000 car wrecks with deers, some of them injuries. Think of what that costs the insurance companies. Think about that when you pay your insurance bill. All that stuff's got to be paid for. Shouldn't we not try to find ways to get that down to 40,000 or 30 or 20? But boy, that is not in the minds of elected officials, believe me, or especially people that administer our lives. Anyway, I'm all for Ted. Keep it up, Ted. You said the right thing. You said the truth. What do they call that? Truth to power, I believe it is. He did a good job. Now, let's get back again. Recently, I spoke about, and you probably saw on the news, that Mercedes-Benz was leaving Detroit to go to Texas. 400 jobs. 400 jobs, Michigan jobs going to Texas. And I'm sure Mercedes will probably offer some of those people if they want to move. They'll probably maybe accept that. Many companies do that sort of thing. So hopefully they will do that, but we're losing jobs anyway. At a time when we have a president, excuse me, a president bringing jobs to America, jobs are leaving Michigan. And we already talked about that briefly in a previous video. But now today, Kellogg sold to an Italian company, Kellogg's Battle Creek. They're going to keep administrative things in Battle Creek, but the cereal production comes to a halt, according to the article I read. More jobs out of Michigan. Then there's the Miller Clock Company, making grandfather clocks in West Michigan for 100 years. I think it's 99 years to be exact. And it will be 100 years when they close. They're going to close down next year. They started, I believe, in 2026, and they're going to be gone they started in 1926, forgive me, and they're going to end in 2026. More jobs, manufacturing jobs out of Michigan. In the meantime, we got a governor running around the country and the world, allegedly trying to get business for Michigan. Well, I'm going to tell you something, sweetheart. Businesses are coming to America. There's 50 different state governments in America, and they're going to go to states that are business friendly, not forced unionization, and none of those things. They're going to go to business-friendly states. Why is Michigan in a mess like this? Why is Michigan so anti-business and does everything in power to keep business out? Why? Because nobody cares. Even when Republicans are in power, not much gets done. Now, I think we have a real hope this election season next year because I think we're going to take Michigan back for the Republicans gratefully and wonderfully. And I think we have some really good Republicans out there like Jay DeBoyer and others who I think are really mean it when they say they're going to get things done. And I really trust these people. But the question is, what about the bulk of them? When you're electing your Republican state representatives, whether it's a state senator or a state house member, quiz these people when they're running. What exactly are you going to do for Michigan when you get there? Why won't you look at South Dakota? Why are they so successful and we are not? Why don't we look at Texas and Florida? Why are they so successful and we are not? And you find out the differences and you fix it. That's what you do. I'm sorry, but it's maddening. I'm sick and tired of seeing raising our children and they're going to other states for jobs because socialist Michigan wants to be just like California. It's got to stop. And the uniparty's got to stop. Republicans have to start being Republicans in the state of Michigan. And we have very few of them. We have some great ones, but very few of them. Also, with that logic, my next little thing here is what I saw today is that 10 GOP senators call on Trump administration to stop holding money hostage. They're claiming, don't know if it's true or not, I didn't have time to research it, so I hope some of you do. The Trump administration allegedly is holding back money from the Department of Education to go to the states. Now, I'm not sure, one, if it's true, and second, if it is, why. There's got to be a reason if it is going on. But these Republicans, I'm sick of Republican senators and House members who will not support Trump. They find every little thing they can to go against. Now, one of these senators is that Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. Now, there's a real jewel for you. I know that we've talked in the past about the word rhino, Republican in name only. They do exist. There's not that many that are literally like Democrats running in Republican areas, but she's one of them. She is one of them. They got ranked choice voting, by the way, in Alaska, and she wound up, after the computers were done, being picked for senator in Alaska. Alaska in 2024, Trump won Alaska by 54.54%. 54%. The people of Alaska gave Trump a mandate to get these things done, to vacuum our country of illegal aliens, fixing a number of things, of which the government's one of them, the deep state, the administrative state. His job is to get it dismantled and make it a republic again, not an empire or a socialist country. He's got a mandate to do it. Now, she's a senator representing Alaska. How does she escape the mandate? If she's not supporting Trump, she's not supporting the people that, through ranked choice voting, selected her to be senator. This stuff has got to stop. These people are terrible. Anyway, we're going to harp on all these kind of things, and we're going to be watching our Michigan representatives. The senators, we don't have to. Right now, we know the two senators, what they're going to do. But our Michigan representatives, we need full support of Donald J. Trump in Washington, D.C. Trump took Michigan. We gave him a mandate. Their job is to help see that that mandate takes place. Pure and simple. Anyway, other things in the news. Today, I think it's today or late yesterday, I discovered it today, Israel attacked Syria. They blew up a building in Damascus, a defense ministry headquarters, according to Associated Press. Now, we want this stuff in the Mideast to stop, right? And Israel is not helping. I don't know what excuse Netanyahu's going to have for this, and I could care less. President Trump went to Saudi Arabia, where he was hugely received in a very friendly manner. The prince in Saudi Arabia, according to the president, asked him to relieve the sanctions on Syria. Syria has had, to my understanding, a change of leadership. I don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent. I have no clue. But it's a change of leadership. And it sounds as though the Saudi Arabians would like to give them another chance to take the sanctions off and, whatever. And Trump announced right there in front of the prince and in front of all hundreds of people in that great hall that he was removing the sanctions from Syria so that Syria could start growing and get their economy going and all that type of thing. So he reached out and tried to make things better. I refuse to believe they wanted this so bad. I cannot picture the prince in Saudi Arabia or the new leadership of Syria immediately turning around and sticking their finger in Trump's eye. It may wind up, as time goes by, we will discover if that was a mistake or not. But there's no way they turned their back on Trump and poked him in the eye just like that right after he did it. I mean, who would do that sort of thing? I know we got some wackos in the world, but Saudi prince and Saudi Arabians, they like Trump. And there's no way that they would allow that. So here we have Mr. Netanyahu, who, by the way, after the nuclear sites were attacked by Trump, he immediately tried to attack Iran by air, sending a bunch of jets, and Trump made him turn them around. Why did he do that? If he was worried about the nuclear thing, why wasn't he just happy? Oh, thank you, Mr. President. You bombed these 3 places, I believe. You bombed them. Thank you very much. And then go home and be glad. Nope. We had to do another attack. What's wrong with this guy? Does he want peace or is he like Zelensky? Anyway, I mentioned Zelensky. So now in the news also is Russia attacked Ukraine with hundreds of drones. What's going on with Putin? I really believe that Putin wants an end to it. I do not believe Zelensky does. Trump showed Zelensky. I'm not saying Putin's a great guy. I'm saying I think Putin would like to see it over. But he'd like to see it over being the winner, obviously. Zelensky, Trump showed the world what Zelensky is right there in the White House months ago. Clearly, if you don't believe me, I'm sure it's still on YouTube or something. Look up the exchange, that meeting in the White House when Zelensky came allegedly to sign the agreement with Trump, which he left being kicked out of the White House and did not sign. And the big dinner they're supposed to have, or big luncheon, Trump gave to the news media after he kicked Zelensky out, told him to come back when he wanted to talk peace. Anyway, Trump showed the world what Zelensky was all about. Zelensky is a little dictator, and he wants this war. He wants to beat Russia, but he can't. We got to do it. And Trump showed him right there. He told him, we have the cards, you don't. If we walk out, you're in trouble. I find it hard to believe we're going to walk out. But the problem is, where's this going to go? And I want to read you something. I don't like doing a video and reading something, but I have here A Republic, Not an Empire, written in 1999 by Patrick J. Buchanan. Patrick Buchanan was just like Trump in a lot of ways. In his beliefs and everything he was, his style was totally different, that type of thing. But he was against NAFTA, GATT, the WTO. He was for American workers. He was for an America First type policy and all that type of thing. He did not believe in all this global expansion. He called it American empire, and we're a republic, not an empire. Very Washingtonian, is that what you should say? George Washington said, stay out of Europe, stay out of their problems, stay out of their issues. But anyway, in a nutshell, then I'll read just a little bit of this. It's about a page. Gorbachev was promised the reunification of Germany. The Russians were promised that NATO would not expand. Now, if you remember, they had their NATO too. It was called the Warsaw Pact. It was dissolved, right? Because the Soviet Union was dissolved. I mean, they dissolved it, but we promised them, our politicians promised them that NATO would not expand to Russia. At the time of the writing of this book, the Balkans and all that sort of thing were already added to NATO. The Russian people realized that the Americans didn't tell them the truth. And that's been going on ever since. Buchanan predicted that we get too close to the Russian border and all hell's going to break loose. He didn't say it that way, but the Russians will not tolerate it so far. It'll get too close, too far, and they're going to get on their heels and they're not going to like it. Well, guess what happened today? Russia attacks Ukraine with hundreds of drones. Ukraine wants to be, that little warmonger wants to be part of NATO. Okay? That's what he wants. Right on Russia's border. Those of you that are older, like me, and those of you that know a little history, remember when Gorbachev put nuclear missiles in Cuba 80 miles from Florida. I don't know if it's 80 miles from Miami or from Florida, but it doesn't matter. Miami's way in southern Florida. But anyway, that was huge. We blockaded the whole island with our Navy. We were right on the edge of, it was really something. And Kennedy put an end to it. He was solid and strong. Khrushchev backed down and went home. We're all human beings. Whether we like our enemy or not, they're a human being and they're going to act like one. So here we were okay and justified by being all upset because they had nuclear missiles 80 miles away. But Putin is not supposed to be upset when right on his border, the country right on his border becomes a member of NATO, an alliance we don't need anymore because the Soviet Union is gone. Now, a part of me or anybody observing would say, the heck with it all, right? What happens, happens. But we got a bunch of senators right now trying to go around Trump and get money to Ukraine. Trump's already promised more Patriot missiles, which are a defensive system. And Ukraine is getting depleted. We are getting depleted. I saw a gentleman on TV the other day giving an analysis of it, an expert. I don't know. You watch this stuff and you really don't know what's true or not, but I know we've been providing these people with tons of stuff. He was saying that ours are being depleted, that we don't have enough for ourselves because we've been giving it over there. It's got to stop, folks. This stuff's got to stop because the next step, when he don't have troops anymore and he can't grab little girls off the streets of Kiev and all this kind of stuff, oh, we need troops. I heard one of our representatives a number of years ago when she voted for $40 billion for Ukraine at a town hall meeting saying what I've heard for 30 years from elected officials. We got to send them money because if they can't defend themselves, if we send them money is better than sending our troops. I've heard this 3 or 4 times since George Bush took over. And guess what? We wind up sending our troops. And this time, if they start a draft, they're going to draft our girls. A lot of women might like that, but a lot of them are too old to get drafted too. It's awful easy to open your damn big mouth. Oh yeah, I think women should serve too. That's real easy to say. But what about when they come after your daughter or granddaughter for a war that we have nothing to do with, that our politicians like Lindsey Graham wants? You know, we can have a military industrial complex. I want to be the best in the world. They can research, they can spend the money, build new stuff, destroy the old stuff, but we don't have to destroy it in a war to see if it works good. You can test it, see if it works good. We don't have to go to war for the hell of it. You should never go to war unless you have to. You should not hesitate if you have to. But this endless proxy wars have got to come to a stop. It's taking, like Buchanan used to say, it's taking our treasure and our blood. And the world don't care. The Europeans want us involved for the 3rd time. And we rebuilt them. Oh yeah, the Americans will take care of it and they'll shed their blood and then they'll rebuild us. It's got to stop. But I'm going to read just part of this, if I may. The former Soviet ambassador of Britain, Anatoly, I'm terrible at names, folks, Anatoly Admission, contends. He contends. He's a Soviet ambassador and he's contending this. So I'm not saying necessarily fact, that when Moscow let the Berlin Wall come down and began to withdraw its troops from Eastern Europe, we were given repeated assurances that NATO would not expand an inch eastward. Jack Matlock, the U.S. ambassador to Russia in 1990, quote, confirms that Gorbachev had reason to believe that he had been given a blanket promise that NATO would not expand, unquote. In the early 1990s, the romance of the age was between America and a Russia liberated from Leninism. Reagan was being toasted in Moscow for having been right about the evil empire. Boris Yeltsin was being toasted in America for having stood atop a tank and defied communism, attempting to reestablish the ancient regime. Now, how far away that all seems. An agitated Russia, believing America is taking advantage of Russia's present weakness to humiliate the nation, has sacked his pro-U.S. I'm sorry, I don't want to bore you with the long thing, so I'm reading too fast. That they have sacked their U.S. foreign minister, and refused to ratify the START II arms treaty, move closer to Beijing, China, funneled weapons into the Caucasus, destabilized pro-U.S. regimes, sold weapons and nuclear technology to Iran, and sided with Saddam Hussein. The most fateful error of American policy in the entire post-war era, says George F. Keenan of the expansion of NATO. Russia is bankrupt. This is 1999. Demoralized nation whose presidency is lusted after by Democrats, demagogues, and ex-generals, and communists with a single conviction in common. All believe NATO expansion to be a provocation, an example of American bad faith, our country, in exploiting Russian weakness. Russian military analyst, I can't pronounce his name, forgive me, warns that public opinion is changing. NATO expansion will turn a whole generation of Russians into anti-Americans. This was written in 1999, and here we are in 2025, with NATO attempting to be on the border of Russia that is no longer a Soviet state. A Russia that's been defending Christians in certain areas, rebuilding churches in Moscow, of all things. Again, I'm not saying that all this, what we're doing, is not wonderful. That's what I'm saying. The last thing, forgive me, is going back to our good old Republicans in Washington. You ever hear of Mark Green? It was in the news. I'm not sure how far it got. Mark Green is a rep in Congress, and I think he is from Tennessee, is it? A Tennessee rep. I'm sorry. Mark Green. You know how some people, thankfully and wonderfully, have said that they're not going to run again. Wonderful. Goodbye. Please don't come back. But this guy, he's impatient. He is resigned. He resigned, I believe, today or the 20th. I forget if it's I didn't print that part. He's resigning from the House, thereby one less Republican in the House. In a House, talk about a House divided. It's our U.S. House. This guy is not a patriot. He's going on to do the article, I think, was from Associated Press. He's going to do an unannounced job. We need patriots, ladies and gentlemen. We need people who can stand it to sit in the House, support this president. And this guy is worth two dead flies, and he's resigning the House now. Resigning. We're in a war, folks. We got China up to here, buying our farmland, buying our businesses, buying everything. Can you imagine what he's going through, the stuff that has to be done? But these kind of people we don't need in the Republican Party. And we have got to pay attention. Stop voting for the guy that sends you the most glossy crap in the mail. That costs a ton of money. Where'd he get it? He might have got it legitimately. Who knows? But check it out. It all says on there where it came from. It usually comes from some PAC. The PAC stuff is public. You can get online, go to Michigan, and see where that PAC money came from. Who donates to that PAC? So we got to stop voting for the name we know. We got to start knowing the name. We got to start getting in here and understanding these people. Look at their voting record. We are going to be studying the voting record of every Republican representative in Congress in Michigan. We want to know who's supporting Trump, who isn't, and we're going to help make you know, and we're going to spread the word. Anyway, we've gone about 25 minutes, longer than I anticipated. But you know what? This is getting to be every day. There's so much stuff going on, and you want to highlight certain things that you think's not getting enough traction. Anyway, God bless all of you, And pray for America, pray for Michigan, pray for our families, pray for Trump, that he stays on the straight and narrow. Pray for the base, that they understand that he's got a lot to go through. God bless you all, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.